Hello, this is Gurminder Singh from Realta Bias Agency. Today I'm here in Gladstone and sitting with these beautiful ladies. Sandy, first of all, can you please briefly introduce yourself and then Trisha, please?
I'm Sandy. I am the Director and Licensee of our property management only business, Island Sands Asset Management. We are based in Tannum Sands, which is on the coast of the Gladstone region, but we service all of the Gladstone region, and we market our agency as property management specialists in our region. And this is...
And I'm Talisha. I'm actually Sandy's daughter, but also her property manager. And yes, we manage properties all over the Gladstone region.
You guys been in the business for so long and you have seen ups and downs in the Gladstone region. There are too many people in Sydney and Melbourne. They are not too much aware about the local market. Can you please explain why Gladstone? Why they need to consider when it comes to buying investment properties? Why Gladstone? Why it is so diversified? Because some people still think that it is a mining town. Can you please explain and give your views on it?
Why the Gladstone region? So we are not a mining town. We do hear this a lot, don't we, Talisha? We have great infrastructure, we have good government hospitals, medical resources all available in our area, good schools ranging from preschool all the way through to primary school and high schools.
We have that good balance of public and private schools as well.
When it comes to the job availabilities, and when it comes to the sustainability in the employment sector, do you see it is sustainable in a long run? Do you see it?
Definitely.
Yes.
There's a lot of growth in our region at the moment because of a lot of hydrogen discussions going on, a lot of growth in our ports.
One thing that I do want to drop in there is we have a school called the Tech College, and from there, if kids don't want to complete high school and they choose to go down a trade path, then they can go to the Tech College where they do 2 weeks at school and 2 weeks at work experience. In that work experience, they can hope to pick up a traineeship or an apprenticeship, and it will be school-based. So they do get to finish high school and they get their Queensland Certificate of Education, which is a QCE, and then by the time that if they get their traineeship or apprenticeship in grade 11, by the time they finish grade 12, they're going into their second year apprenticeship instead of just starting off in their first year. We do have those options. Otherwise, you can leave school in grade 10 and go full-time in your apprenticeship. But if you do still feel like you need to finish high school, then they have that. We do have that option, and it's because we are a very trade-based town. So most roles that are going in Gladstone are not so much labouring roles, but they're actual trade qualified roles. You need a skill. Mechanical fitters, diesel fitters, boiler makers, they are so popular that, and it's attractive because at the end of your 4-year apprenticeship, you're walking out with a trade that you can make up to $180,000 a year with overtime. You could be 18, 19, pretty much finishing your apprenticeship and you're making that sort of money. It's very attractive, and that's one of the reasons why I think a lot of people that grew up here stay here.
Another question that I want to ask about the rental crisis. It is pretty much everywhere in Australia, but I have seen the data. The vacancy rates are record low. Can you please shed some light on this matter, like how you see the rental market in Gladstone overall?
Our rental market in Gladstone, I don't feel is probably going to ease up for some time. I think it is still, and the reason being is that it is still a very reasonable place to rent in comparison to other areas in Queensland and Australia. For example, you can still get a great 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom, double lock-up home for $650 a week. If you put a swimming pool in the mix of that, maybe $700 a week. If you took that property to the Sunshine Coast or Brisbane, for example, it is still a very good place to rent for tenants. We also, in regards to who is attracted to the area, we're a very transient population. We have
People
Rio
get
Tinto
transferred.
sites, a lot of, so we have the Rio Tinto sites. With Rio Tinto, then they move the employees around Australia and
Yeah.
also internationally as well.
All right.
So they, and not only Rio Tinto, we have other major employees
Yeah.
in our Gladstone region that move employees in and out of the area.
Yeah.
That comes with movement and rental properties
And
too.
that's the big thing about Gladstone. So because we do have that transient, most of it happens at the end of the year. So
Yeah.
a lot of our properties are vacant at the end of the year.
Okay.
But come January, everyone's getting ready to move to town. But a lot of people go, oh, it's a little bit hard to get a rental. So they'll secure the property at the end of the year so that when they move to the area
Yeah.
on that first week of January,
Yeah.
they've got their house ready to go.
Yeah.
That's just our market is it's not as much seasonal
Yeah.
as opposed to other markets.
And do you see it sustainable? Because as you mentioned, because there are few key players. Is it sustainable in the future? So what is sort of the local demand in the rental? Are you getting a lot of interest on the properties?
Yeah.
Can you
A lot of people have been in their employments, especially with like Rio.
Yeah.
We've got Rio Tinto Yarwun, we have QAL, we have the port, and we have the Boyne smelter. And a lot of those people are in full-time positions and they've held those positions for a really long time. So that's probably one of the groups of people that are looking to rent
Yeah.
properties, and if they don't like it, or that similar group is also in a stage of they're either wanting to upsize their property as
Yeah.
well, but they have to sell their first property
Yeah.
to enable them to buy
Yeah.
a second. We've just got those things going on as well.
Perfect. Thank you very much, guys. And because some people are planning to buy the properties here, can you please give one gold piece of advice for interstate investors when they just need to focus on that particular thing when they are going to make $500,000 decision?
Tough decision, Talisha. I think Talisha and I talk about this quite a lot. I think the best recommendation we can provide to future investors in our Gladstone region is to look at the property, make sure it's well maintained, has good strong features that appeal to tenants like air conditioning to help your tenant in summer. It gets very hot and humid, so air conditioners, ceiling fans.
Apart from that, Trisha, would you like to add any other piece of advice for the interstate investors that they should keep in mind when they make any sort of investment decisions?
I think one of the next factors to consider is that if you have the budget to afford a house that does have additional storage such as a shed,
Yeah.
definitely look into it, because a shed is like a pool in Gladstone.
Yes.
We have a very lifestyle town as well. As you
Yeah.
can imagine if you've looked on the maps, we are very coastal. We have boats and jet skis and camper trailers,
Yes.
and people need places to store their toys,
Yeah.
but a double lock-up garage isn't going to suffice those extra
Yeah.
toys.
Yeah.
If they do have the boats and the trailers and the jet skis and all of that, then side access is beneficial,
Yeah.
but definitely a shed if they can afford it.
Alrighty, perfect. The last question is that, so there are too many people are concerned about the bushfire zoning and the flood zoning in the Gladstone region. How you see it as a local? Is it really a concern, or it is very conservative, which is depicted by the council on their interactive maps?
I have had this question asked a fair bit lately about bushfires and that it's in a bushfire zone, and I think the only really concern to have is just that even though it might state that it's in a bushfire zone or it's in a bushfire area, doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to light up, because a lot
Yeah.
of these areas, even though they have like dense bushland,
Yeah.
most of them have a creek running through it too.
Yes.
So it's just, even though there's dense bushland, there's also a creek, so it's not
Yeah.
really going to like light
Yeah.
up
And
the
control.
house.
We seem to have a lot of control.
We do.
too.
Our rural bushfireys, they backburn a lot, and we are able to do that in Queensland. I don't think New South Wales is really allowed to backburn these days. In Queensland, we're allowed to backburn. They burn a lot of our bushfires. They
Yeah.
obviously plan it. It's the
Yeah.
weather.
Yeah.
They get a good day. They tell
Yeah.
everyone about it, and then they safeguard
Yeah.
our area. You're generally pretty safe
Yeah.
in Gladstone, and like likewise with like Bointanum as well. Then it comes into the flooding.
Yeah.
So I don't think Gladstone floods. I don't think
There is a flood zone in the Gladstone. What the council map shows us.
Is it through like Kirkwood and Talina?
I don't remember.
Okay, I'm thinking like down the back of like.
But
Auckland.
when we talk to locals, then they say never flooded.
It's
We've been
no.
in there last 30 years, but it never happened. And sometimes these properties are on a little bit on sort of a higher end of the street, but still for some reason, I think the council maps are a little bit more conservative. That's why I just want to know what the local thinks. And another thing that I want to ask, does it make any difference on the rentability of the property, or it doesn't really matter?
It doesn't.
Okay.
No. Nobody really thinks about it because it
Okay.
just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And most of the places that, well, I shouldn't say that have flooded, because the only street that really went underwater in our last floods, this was like 12 years ago, was Tarcoola Drive, and it was only like 6 properties, wasn't it?
I don't know. Over the, I
Or
thought it
just went over the road.
Yeah,
It wasn't anything serious. No.
And another very interesting question I want to ask. I have a lot of questions. Sorry, guys.
That's okay.
The another interesting question is that when it comes to rentability of the property, then do you think there is any difference between the high set house and the low set house?
No, not in Gladstone.
Not in Gladstone.
No.
Okay, so
no,
then locals see it as a house. Doesn't matter it is high set or low set.
I think it's an individual choice. It would only
Yeah.
come down to if maybe you were not able to do stairs
Yeah.
because of
Mobility.
medical
Yes.
mobility,
Yeah.
but otherwise in our region there's no difference.
Okay.
The supply and demand.
Sometimes,
yes.
sometimes I think high set houses there is a more storage space that you will get, and you can use the first floor for your use.
People will look at properties and go, that's exactly what I want, or people will look at properties and go, that's not what I'm after at all.
Oh.
And they'll generally look because they might have bought like a caravan, and they'll go, I need a new house because I need to put the caravan somewhere.
Yeah.
Or they're maybe getting ready to retire, but they need to rent for 12 months, or they're building a house and they need to rent for 12 months,
Yeah.
and they're like, I need this, I need that. So that's generally what we find.
No, thank you very
Yeah.
much for all the information. If you have any sort of queries regarding the rental aspect of the property, then please get in touch with Trisha and with Cindy. Thank you very much. This is Gurminder from Realta. See you in the next video.